Fucking hell.
When are you gonna change your profile picture? Like, that's a nice picture.
I'll do it when I get home.
I wanna be the one that is.
I'll do it when I get home.
I
She's not bullying
wanna be
me.
responsible for everybody's stuff.
Oh my god, look at the spike that I did when I talked into the mic. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Hello, and welcome to the History Nerdz podcast.
Episode 2.
It's episode 1. Okay, we'll have to start again already.
Episode 1 of, like, this series, Danny. This is the next series. This is...
I'm going to have to start again now. Okay.
God damn it, Danny.
Stop tapping my foot.
I thought it was a table.
Right, okay.
This is Chris all over again.
We've got some... This is the reason it took so long last time. Because you can't stop laughing.
You made me laugh.
You ready? Calm down. Calm down for fuck's sake.
Okay, I'm just gonna be like reading something
Okay.
which will make me...
Right. Third time's the charm. Hello, and welcome to the History Nerdz podcast. What is it? It's just a history podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a little, like, factoid podcast really talking about history.
Factoid podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
nice way of
like,
putting it.
from history.
Factoid.
That was unnecessary.
Sound effects.
Like, it goes, yeah, well, like, this is the first episode of a new series, and that series is Heroes of History.
Series 2.
It's the first series.
In a line of series, yeah.
Okay, we don't know what order this is coming out in. This might be the first series.
We're literally just making them as we make them. And
Okay,
they're
well,
coming
this is a series, so this might be the second, or the first, or the third, whatever. But it's part of a series.
We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. We're new to this, so
As you can probably tell.
you can definitely tell that.
Yeah, I tell.
So new that he's drinking a can of Coke and smashes his teeth.
Yeah, I hit myself in
You're
the
not
teeth.
supposed to eat the can.
So our first this is going to be a 2-part episode of Unsung Heroes of History, and this will probably be the first episode of this because there are so many that could be classed as an unsung hero, even some that people might think, oh, people should surely know who that is. No, probably not. People probably won't know who that is. So the first episode is going to be pre-20th century unsung heroes, and the second episode is going to be post-20th century unsung heroes. Unless anyone's got anything else to say, I think I might jump into it.
Yeah, go for it.
What are you looking at
Yeah,
on there,
ready.
Neil? Are you updating your computer while we do this?
No, I'm reading.
If this crashes, I'm going to be very upset.
It won't.
You're ruining his thunder.
Okay, I've chosen 4 that I think are unsung heroes of history for each part. So part 1 and part 2. So we've got 8 in total. That's going to be really annoying.
Let me just turn this off.
I would. So our first unsung hero of history is Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis. Do either of you know who that is?
Is it German?
He's not German.
It sounds very
Sick.
German.
Swedish.
He's Hungarian. He was Hungarian. This is pre-20th century.
Gotcha.
So what do you think he might have done that makes him an unsung hero?
Fighter pilot.
Pre-20th century.
Planes
no.
weren't around.
Planes really weren't around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he
Should I-
was he involved in a revolution?
No.
Of some sort? No.
Assassin.
No. Should I give you a clue?
Go ahead.
He was a doctor.
He founded something?
You're close. You're quite close now. Shall I just
Cure?
go for it?
Yeah.
Okay, Ignaz Semmelweis, I apologise if I butcher these pronunciations. I'm not Hungarian or Austrian, wherever he was from, I can't remember at the moment. Okay, he was a Hungarian physician and scientist. He was born on the 1st of July, 1818, so we're getting near enough to his birthday. We've got a month.
Okay.
He died on the 13th of August, 1865.
His death day.
Yeah, we're quite close to that as well. He's often described in medical circles as the saviour of mothers, and he was a pioneer in the prevention of the spread of childbed fever. He essentially discovered that, surprise, surprise, washing your hands before delivering a baby generally prevents the mother or baby dying.
Oh, I think I've heard of this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you haven't.
No, I haven't. No.
But it's quite surprising that people didn't
Wow.
realise that was the link between we haven't washed our hands and this mother and or child has died for so long.
Wow. I would have thought it was a given, but I guess.
Yeah, he proposed the practice of washing your hands with chlorinated lime solution. So it's something that's going to disinfect your hands before an operation or anything along those lines in 1847. While he was working at the Vienna General Hospital's first... Oh, wow. I can't read my handwriting. What does this say?
Obstetrical.
Obstetrical clinic, which at the time had a mortality rate 3 times higher in the doctors' wards than in the midwives' wards. So that...
Female medical terms elude you.
Yeah, they do. I'm very sorry that I'm not female or a doctor. I'm not clever enough to be a doctor.
Or literate.
You probably are.
I am literate. I just can't write very well. So his hypothesis, which I can't... How no one realised that clean hands equals less death, was mercilessly ridiculed within the hospital. And blatantly ignored and rejected almost outright by his colleagues and anyone else who heard about this.
Wow.
I don't know why. He was dismissed from the hospital for quote-unquote political reasons, so essentially probably not wanting to listen to the person giving them an idea that would save people's lives. And subsequently harassed by Vienna's medical community, forcing him to return home to Budapest. So he was essentially chased out of his job for suggesting that clean hands mean less dead people.
That's crazy.
It's stupid.
That is very stupid.
It's insanely stupid that...
Isn't this like around the same time that Florence Nightingale was like bringing like that sort of thing into hospitals as well?
I should know this, but I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was like around 1800.
Possibly.
Wow.
Obviously, wow. Okay. I'm apparently losing the ability to speak now. Outraged, obviously, by the seeming indifference of the entire medical community that surrounded him, Semmelweis began to write open and also increasingly angry letters to prominent European physicians, often referring to them as, quote, irresponsible murderers, which isn't too far from the truth if you're being told something that can be proven and then flat out ignoring it. So, well done, 1800s Hungary. Fantastic. And Austria. Fantastic. His contemporaries, including his own wife, believed that he was losing his mind.
Oh wow, that's just
For
crazy.
washing his hands.
For trying to tell people and for being first rejected for it and then being chased back to, essentially being chased away from his job, having to go back to Budapest and then continuing to tell people this, that washing your hands stops people dying. How can you...
I guess they were like, nah, such a little thing won't...
I guess. I don't know. In 1865, nearly 20 years after first voicing his breakthrough in the medical world, Semmelweis was committed to the... I've written this. Landesherrenanstalt Dobling, which is a lunatic asylum. Semmelweis died there only 14 days later from septic shock caused by a gangrenous wound in his hand, which was more than likely caused by severe beatings from the guards.
Why didn't you try and wash it?
Who probably didn't wash their hands, yeah.
Wow, that's just
And
unfair.
only years after his untimely death, a theoretical explanation was offered by Louis Pasteur, who is, of course... Well, do you know who Louis Pasteur is? He's
No
someone else
idea.
we could have done. Or I could have done. He, you know about pasteurised milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who sort of came up with the process of pasteurising milk. So
Hence
heating...
why it's called pastures.
Yeah, so like germ theory, working out that heat will kill this sort of thing.
Okay.
Louis Pasteur, in his development of germ theory, discovered that Semmelweis's theory was true, and that people had been ignoring this for 20 years since he voiced this until he died. Well done, medical community of the 1800s. What?
Oh no, it's good, don't worry.
What's wrong?
I froze for a sec.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Cool.
There's a big loss on the medical community there.
It
Though.
was a horrendous loss.
Think how far advanced that could have like brought people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a true... He's now considered, rightfully so, a pioneer of antiseptic procedure.
Well, yeah.
Well, obviously. He discovered the thing that essentially means we're alive. Or helped pioneer that.
Life, yeah.
But he helped pioneer, as weird as it sounds, washing your hands when you're about to deliver a child or do an operation. So he is definitely an unsung hero. I don't think too many people would know who he is. I'm sure they will. I'm sure we'll get told by people, oh, it's an unsung hero. But it's to some people.
That's really something that they should teach in schools, really.
It's people, yeah. He's our first unsung hero. I think he definitely falls into the category of an unsung hero. He was shunned during his time when he was alive, and yeah, his work is now incredibly important.
Ooh.
Are you going to be on your phone the entire time?
It's stopping me from like giggles and stuff. I'm listening.
Okay. Moving on. The second unsung hero of the pre-20th century era are the Polish Hussars, or Winged Hussars, they're also known. Do you know who they are?
Wasn't Tsar the
Hussars.
Oh, okay.
Hussars, not
I thought you were
TSAR.
saying Tsar.
No.
No idea then. Maybe some
Are
sort
they
of like lord?
pilots? I'm just gonna ask that for all of them.
Please don't.
Pre-20th century, darling.
Oh yeah.
The first four are going to be pre-20th century. The
So
time
no
when
planes.
no planes.
Okay, cool.
No planes, no boats. There are no planes or boats involved in my stories
Okay, cool.
until
Okay.
post 20th century.
I
So
have no idea then.
okay, well the Polish Hussars were one of the main cavalry types in the Polish and Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and they were in service between the 16th and 18th century. And up until reforms in the 1770s, they were considered to be the elite of the Polish cavalry, and probably in the world. So
Skilled.
they were the Winged Hussars. This is later on in this, but I'll say it now. They were the Winged Hussars because on their armour that they wore, they had giant wooden wings attached to them, covered in either ostrich or eagle or some other bird's feathers that would clatter as they rode towards the enemy, to make it sound like there were either more of them coming towards you,
Yeah.
or to scare the opposition's cavalry.
So kind of like angels of death sort of thing.
I guess so, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Like an intimidation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were modelled on the Hungarian Hussars, who were a unit that fought from roughly... Well, I think no, they were formed before the Polish Hussars, obviously, if they were modelled on them, and fought right up until 1918. So the Hungarian Hussars fought all the way through the First World War.
Oh, wow.
And even with the machine gun and things, or rifles or pistols, I still can't imagine many more terrifying things than hearing a lot of horses running towards you and not fully knowing what it was until you could see them.
I mean, cavalry...
Minus the wings, obviously.
Cavalry charges didn't last long in World War One anyway because the guns upgraded pretty quick.
They were done up until 1918.
Yeah, but just far and few between.
Few and
like,
far, yeah.
Depends what front you're on.
hmm
But yeah, that would have like terrified me as a soldier. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that?
Yeah. So the Polish Hussars were originally a light cavalry unit formed of exiled Serbian warriors. So as they were kicked out of Serbia, they were brought into Poland and, oh look, we need some more cavalry. Do you want to go? Sort of thing.
Sort of like hired mercenary sort of like thing.
Kinda, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And by the later half of the 16th century and following reforms by King Stefan Bathory, the Hussars were transformed from a light cavalry unit into the elite, heavily armoured shock cavalry that they became feared for. So they had long lances. I think they were about 4.5 meters long, and the their main tactic during a conflict was to charge the enemy, an enemy force, and as they started, they were quite slow, quite spread out, and as they got closer and closer, they get faster and faster and get tighter and tighter and tighter together until just before they hit the front of the enemy, they'd be in as tight a formation as they could be, going as fast as possible with these lances, and just smash into the front of the line, and then they would turn round and come back through, and they'd do this multiple times. They had each battalion, or I don't know if it is a battalion, if it's hussars, I can't remember, had a wagon that would come along with them, wagons full of lances, because they would break into people. If you hit someone on a galloping horse with a wooden, essentially a long stick with a piece of metal on the end of it, it's going to break off.
Yeah.
And they were skilled enough and fast enough to be able to ride through, ride back to their front, get more lances, and ride back and come back through, and so on and so on and so on.
So tiring.
And yeah, it would have been, but these were the elite of most, I think, probably all European cavalry at this time.
Sounds like medieval bowling.
That is some vicious bowling. I don't know what bowling you do, but if it's with a lance, I think you need to see someone about that.
It's easier to get a strike.
What if you just snooker it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Would that formation have been like an arrow formation in the end then, before hitting?
I think it probably would have been a flat front, and then they could have hit as many as possible. I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't find anything that described it.
Oh, okay.
I think they were quite spread out along a front, and then they'd just get closer and closer, so they were hitting hard in one point.
Fair enough.
And then they could come back and then choose a different part of the enemy line and go through there. The first Hussar units of Poland were formed in 1503 by the Polish Parliament, who hired 3 banners. So a banner is approximately 100 cavalrymen each of Hungarian mercenaries. So yeah, there were mercenaries. Yeah. Recruitment of Polish natives began soon after, and the Hussars played a fairly minor role initially in Polish victories. So they might have been used to pick off very lightly armoured troops, maybe like archers, or just foot soldiers who weren't armed very well, not going up against other cavalry units or artillery.
Pick off the weaker side.
Yeah, pick off the weaker side. They're not
Basically sharking.
Yeah, they're not. They weren't at that point the unit that would essentially just smash into the front of the enemy force. Over the course of the 16th century, the Hussars gradually formed into the heavily armed elite unit that ruled Polish battlefields. These heavy Hussars were known as Hussaria in Poland, and when Stefan Batory was elected King of Poland and later accepted as the Grand Duke of Lithuania in 1570, he reformed his Hussars of the Royal Guard into a heavy formation whose main arm was a long lance. So this is the long lance that was given to all the Hussars, or the winged Hussars. At the Battle of... this is... I can't pronounce things, so you're going to have fun with this. We can probably make like a video, or just a special thing at the end of the year where it's just me. It's Lubizev. Lubizev. The Battle of Lubizev, it is a U, not an A. I have abysmal handwriting. In 1577, ushered in the, quote, golden age of the Hussars. So when they were starting to become the elite on the battlefield. Between that year, so 1577 and 1683 at the Battle of Vienna, they fought many battles and won most of them. In the Battle of Lubizev, as well as 15 other battles, they were the deciding factor in the victory. So without them they might not have had as much of a decisive showing of power. It shows how well trained and heavily armed these people were.
So basically what happened is they were refined as a team, basically.
Yeah, they were trained and fought as sort of like one thing.
It's kind of like Spartans then, but like cavalry.
Yeah.
Fairly.
During the Polish-Muscovite War at the Battle of Kliszyn, the Commonwealth were outnumbered 5-1, by the Russian force. So this would have been a humongous Russian force. So like infantry, probably archers. There would have been artillery, so cannons, and the Russians still were defeated because of the Hussars and their ability to just smash into a front and just come back and keep doing it and doing it. Yeah, I can do this again. The winged Hussars, they were famous for the humongous wings that they wore on their armour. I think these were attached. And going into the 16th century, the winged Hussars' shields started to have... Well, they transitioned from having shields just to having armour. But originally they had a shield with winged feet. Winged feet? That's not it. Is it?
How do you think?
Winged claws. That's it.
I mean, claws are on feet, like.
Yeah. Close enough.
I mean claws like a bird, not just like the nails.
Well, claws on a bird are bird's feet.
I know they're bird's feet, but they were winged claws, and that's what was on
Okay.
the horses that were bred for the Hussars had to be specially bred for the constant fast attack, retreat, getting more supplies, and doing it again and again.
It's got to be a very strong horse.
Yeah, they had to be fast to be successful in charges, and also strong enough to carry out to 100 kilograms, so the rider, the armour, and weaponry. And I'd recommend looking up a picture of a Hussar horse, or we might be able to put one in the comments or something. They look like a racehorse. They don't look Hussar.
Just looking one up.
The Hussar horse, you'd expect for something that had to carry so much weight for it to be a big, bulky horse. It looks like a racehorse, which really shows how sort of strong they were and how strong they were bred. There we go. That's what they look like. We'll put some pictures in the comments.
Oh wow.
Yeah, imagine about 100 of them coming towards you. Yeah, I'm fine without that.
I thought the wings were like kind of the feathers, not wings. Technically the wings, but
Yeah.
the feathers on the wings were kind of like cascading, kind of like that, one on top of each other going down.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, they were.
Like a Mohican.
Yeah, they are. They're like a Mohican. They're
Yeah.
attached to the thing, and they go all the way down
Yeah,
to
it's
about
not
the
what
middle of the back.
Yeah, it's not what I imagined seeing.
It's still quite terrifying, especially because they had black armor as well.
Yeah.
The Hussars fought with a long lance, a concierge, which is a stabbing sword, and this was I can't remember how long they were. I think they were a 4-foot sword, and it was very, very thin. And this was used for when they came up against infantry, so to get in between armor plates and things like that, and to pick people off. They had a zabla, so a saber, just a stereotypical. Yeah, that's the saber. We'll put these pictures in the comments. It's really good saying, "Oh yeah, that's it." You can't see this yet.
It's like curved.
They would also carry a set of 2 to 6 flintlock pistols, a carbine or arquebus rifle, and sometimes a small warhammer or light axe. So these are heavily armed people coming charging towards you. That's a good picture to put on there. Yeah, that's the long infantry sword.
So this one, then that.
Mm.
So that's super heavy for the horse.
Super heavy for the horse, super heavy for the rider.
Is that a cannon?
It's a small cannon.
Damn.
These weapons, combined with the skill of the riders and the horses, made it possible for the Hussars to face off against almost any enemy they came up against, so they could be put up against. As I said, archers or light infantry, heavy infantry, other cavalry units. So when they were I can't remember where it was, they'd be sent to just open the can.
Sorry.
I want to drink anyway. My throat hurts. They'd be sent after other cavalry units because they could
Obliterate.
They could. They would. Well, they would just run into them. And they had the wings would clatter, scaring the other horses. And yeah, you've got another theory as to why they had the wings and why they made the noises was when they were fighting the Persian army. The Persians would use noisemakers to scare the enemy cavalry, and having this the wings already be a noise that the horses are used to, it would drown out the noisemakers, and make it yeah, exactly. It would make it able for the hussars to continue a charge and not have a horse bolt, have injured. Well, you're not really going to worry about an injured soldier. One of them might die when they get there. And
Can you imagine the first time like these people are trying with their noisemakers like this will work and like oh shit they're still coming.
Oh, it's definitely not working, and they're making the same noise. Yeah, that sounds
They
terrifying.
beat us to it.
Yeah, pretty
Like
much.
them little football things that go around and go.
Yeah, the horses that were bred were so highly prized that selling one outside of the hussars was punishable by death
Oh.
because they were so well trained and kept that selling one was essentially a waste, and you've essentially wasted property of the army to, well, yeah.
Wasted the defences of your country.
You've wasted part of the defensive capabilities of your army and country.
Yeah.
Congratulations, his death for that. Yeah.
If the enemy don't kill you, I will.
I think the Polish Hussars are definitely, they were brutal. I definitely think they were unsung for what they were. I think it's because other cavalry units sort of continued up until the First World War and would then fought through then, but they sort of petered out towards the end of the 1700s as like fighting techniques got better and sort of outclassed cavalry. They weren't really needed as much. I think they were still kept as the Royal Guard, but they're not in use anymore. Well, I don't think really many armies have a cavalry unit anymore.
Well, I think they keep them just out of respect for like tradition.
Yeah, well, like we have the Horse Guard.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if you're not from England, we have the Horse Guard, and that's what looks after a decrepit old woman in a big house.
The Queen, people. The Queen.
She's a lizard.
That'll come up on my conspiracy theory episode.
It's okay. It's okay. Once the coronavirus, this is going to date the episode. So if it's already happened, hello from the future. Once the coronavirus just takes over the entire world, the Queen will transform into her true form, which is a gigantic winged dragon that will fly down Pall Mall, killing everyone.
My subjects are
You can cut that out if you want.
Are you not a royalist, Jake?
No.
I couldn't tell.
Why do we need to? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go into our next person.
You sure?
Yes, I am.
You kind of want to babble.
No, I don't.
Sure.
On the next, I'm going to get to it before I just get sidetracked.
Uh-huh.
Our next unsung hero is William Manly.
Was he manly?
He very much was. For what he did, yes. Who do you think William Manly might have been? Not a pilot.
I reckon he was a man that...
I will throw that can at you if
I
you
know
say a
you will.
pilot.
No, he's getting it ready.
I'm going to drink.
I reckon he was a man that when he screamed, he sounded very much like a woman.
Was he
Can we have a serious...
soldier?
He was a soldier. Well, yes, he was in the army.
Did he have a horse?
Did he
No.
save someone?
He saved multiple someones.
Sacrificed himself?
No, he didn't.
Came up with a way to help?
He was a British Army officer and surgeon
Oh,
with the Army Medical Corps with the Royal Artillery. He was born on the 17th of December 1831 and died on the 16th of November 1901.
Ooh.
So he's just about getting into post-20th century, but this is my topic. So if you don't like that,
Tough titties.
tough. Fight me.
If you don't like that, you're probably not still listening.
Yeah, you probably don't like my voice if you don't like that. Fuck you.
Ooh.
Hey.
He is the only recipient of both the Victoria Cross and Iron Cross.
Ooh.
So he first received the Victoria Cross and then received the German Iron Cross.
So was he English or...
He was English, yeah.
Right.
He was born in Ireland.
So was he like a double spy?
No, he wasn't. I'll get to it.
Okay.
He became a member of the Royal College of Surgeons in England in 1851. So at the age of 20, he was already a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, which I think is probably quite an achievement.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty clever then.
He joined the army in 1854, so he was 23, in the Army Medical Corps and was attached to the Royal Regiment of Artillery to serve in the Crimean War. He was later posted to New Zealand with the regiment, where his actions for his VC took place. He was now 32, so quite old for the army. I don't know if it was back then, especially if you were on front line.
Yeah.
He was now an assistant surgeon with the Royal Artillery, and it was during the Waikato Hau Maori War on the 29th of April, 1864, that an assault on Gate Pa took place. So Gate Pa was like a fort that the Maoris had.
I've been to New Zealand to Waikato, and I think I've been to that part that you're talking about.
Have you?
I definitely went around like all the parts where the wars happened with like the English and the Maori.
This is the one that they thought was above ground, but was mostly underground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, excellent. You know what one of these are.
I mean I do and I don't.
Okay, fantastic.
She walked around it.
So, Gate Pa was a Maori fort, as you've just heard me say, and the British Army. It was essentially just to poke the natives, like everything we did. Please don't actually poke me. So it was the Royal Navy that was sent here along with the army, and it was the Royal Navy were there with artillery, and they were firing and firing and firing over the front of the Pa, thinking that all the Maoris are behind this, and then they heard nothing, and they made an assault, and no one was there until people started dying, and they worked out that the Maoris had gone inside the Pa and hidden. Which is terrifying. Maoris are scary now. I don't know how scary they were then.
Terrifying. If you've ever looked up the Maori heroes.
The hacker and things.
Yeah, like that's just the general war dance they did, but like to intimidate people.
Yeah.
But the actual fighting skill of them, like they were brutal.
They were.
They were using like fairly primitive, like
Fairly primitive weapons, but they had good technique
at the time.
Yeah.
They were very strong people.
They were. They are.
They have there are so many really good unsung heroes from the Maoris as well. Like they revere a lot of their people.
Well, we'll definitely do a Maori unsung heroes.
Oh, damn right we will.
Well, they're definitely
I am all
unsung.
over that.
Excellent. You can help me write that. He was a part of tending to the mortally wounded Commander Hay of the Royal Navy after an assault on the Pa. So the part of the assault where the Maoris popped up and started killing everyone, he was going back and forth rescuing horrendously wounded soldiers along with officers.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The Maori, how were they attacking from under the ground? Did they have like really long sticks and just kind of...
They had little... Have you seen a First World War trench?
Yes.
And they've got dugouts.
Yes.
The underground dugouts. Like that. And they would pop up and stab. I believe they also had guns.
Nice.
Probably at this time.
Yeah.
So they're basically the mole men of war.
Don't call the Maoris mole men.
Don't insult people.
I don't mean to.
Cut that out.
Yeah.
I'm
dead.
He was also a volunteer to accompany the storming party that went to the Pa, and he went back with the wounded and returned to tend to others that he couldn't bring back straight away. So for this, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, which is the highest award that can be given to a soldier or an airman or seaman don't laugh at that, in the British Isles.
British Empire.
British Empire. I said that wrong. It's still the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Australian soldiers, Anzacs can still get them.
Yeah.
In 1870, so at this point he was... Oh, this is why I'm not good at maths. He was 39 when the Franco-Prussian War broke out. He went with the Royal Ambulance Corps that were attached to the Prussian 22nd Infantry Division. So this was ambulance horse-drawn at this point.
Horse and carriage.
Essentially, yeah. For caring for the Prussian army's injured soldiers in the 22nd Infantry Division. During several battles, he was awarded the Iron Cross Second Class on recommendation from the German Crown Prince, which is very impressive, especially for an Englishman. That's the second class isn't as high as Iron Cross First Class. I don't know what you'd have to do for that. Fly, German. I don't know. Probably be German, yeah. But he's the only Englishman to receive both of these awards, which is incredible, really.
Very rare.
Yeah. It's a one-off.
Never gonna happen again.
He later served in the Second Anglo-Afghan War from 1878 to 79, and after this, he was promoted from Principal Medical Officer to Deputy Surgeon General and retired from the army in 1884 and died on the 16th of November 1901 in Cheltenham, where I believe he's buried.
So how old was he?
He was 70.
70. That's not bad actually, considering all the battles he's been.
Okay, we're now on to the final of this episode, final unsung hero of the pre-20th century era. Okay, right.
Start from
So
introducing-
Mary Edwards Walker, who was this?
A woman.
Other than a woman,
medical.
Yeah, going with your theme so far. Was she in the army?
she was in the army. She was American.
Was she in the medical division of the army?
She was technically yes. She was a surgeon slash nurse to begin with.
Wait, she was a woman surgeon in the American army before the 20th century.
She was.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is someone who people need to know about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Born on November 26th, 1832, and she died on February 21st, 1919.
Ooh.
So quite old for the time as well. Well, I don't know. She was an American abolitionist, prohibitionist, pioneer of... It's not war. Pioneer of war. I think pioneer of women's rights. She was a suffragist as well.
Ooh,
American
nice.
suffragist.
And a surgeon. Also the only woman to be awarded the Medal of Honor. So the highest award you can be given in the US Army, the only woman to receive this currently. And one of only 8 technically a civilian to be awarded it as well. She earned her medical degree in 1855, so she was 23, and volunteered for the Union Army at the outbreak of the American Civil War. So we'll definitely do an episode, or some episodes in the American Civil War, because it was far more brutal than people know. It was horrendous. Both sides obviously did horrendous things. Unsurprisingly, because they were fighting over whether they should be allowed to have slaves or not.
I think there was more to it than just.
But there was more to it, but that was also
that was like one of the main points.
that was one of the main, yeah, exactly, one of the main points.
Is it bad? I didn't know that.
What?
That they fought over whether or not they could have slaves.
One of the
One of the, yeah.
yes.
Clearly, you don't know much about Lincoln then.
I know he was a president.
He got shot in the back of the head too. Anyway, we'll do that at some point. We'll do assassinated presidents.
Hopefully Trump. I'm joking.
Shit, fucking hell. Yeah, why not?
And there go all our pro-Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Fuck off, you're not allowed to listen to this.
Rudeness.
She served as a surgeon in a temporary hospital in Washington, D.C., even though women were deemed unfit for service in any way by the Union Army, and any other army at that point, unless they were a nurse.
Yeah.
Because nurses were...
They're allowed to assist.
Although something else I did find out when I was looking that up is both the Union and Confederate armies had female soldiers.
Oh.
So, I don't want to say well done, Confederates, but
Great for being all inclusive.
well done. Apart from black people,
All inclusive or just desperate?
desperate. At points, desperate. She, at first, when she attempted to volunteer for the Union Army, she was at first rejected. To some surprise, due to the fact that she had already been running a medical practice for many years. So she was already an established physician. So going to volunteer for an army about to be in a brutal war and them going, yeah, nah, you're all right, is a bit of a surprise, obviously. You're volunteering to help. I'd take that.
Yeah.
I bet they didn't have that many surgeons either.
I bet they didn't. Oh, God. She was the Union Army's first female surgeon. She worked unpaid and also worked in men's clothes. claiming that it was easier to do her high-demand work in them. So amputations.
Well, yeah, it's a bit hard, like
It's a bit hard to do that in a
walking
dress.
across like a battlefield in a dress. Yeah, a corset.
She was also a Union spy.
Of course.
I knew it. I was close to assassin.
You should have said spy. You nice spike. You should have said spy. That's why she was taken prisoner after performing. She had already volunteered to be a spy.
Oh, okay.
I may have gotten this wrong now. She either volunteered to be a spy and was rejected, or was a spy. I can't remember.
We are
Just offhand.
factual in this podcast.
This is the first one we've done. Please go light. We'll probably do an updated one on these.
A redo.
She was taken prisoner just after performing a field amputation with another surgeon. So she's just finished probably saving someone's life or cutting off a limb and then them bleeding to death, as happened. When she was there's conflicting stories as to this. She was either performing an amputation on a soldier, or was in Confederate-held land after she had crossed enemy lines in order to treat wounded civilians. Either is a very valiant thing to do. If you're crossing enemy lines to help anyone, you're risking your life to save others.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it does. She was eventually released back to the Union side in a prisoner exchange for a Confederate surgeon. So both sides weren't against taking medical people...
Taking their lives.
Not hostage. Well, taking them prisoner, not taking their lives.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe the Geneva Convention was a thing at this point. So, yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that was...
Kill them, I guess, at that point. It was during, I think. After the war, she was approved for the Medal of Honor due to her treatment of injured soldiers and civilians during the war. Walker is the... You're right. What have you done?
Wrong hole.
She was having a drink.
It's a drink.
It's okay, I've just got Vimto on my lungs.
It's a medical condition.
Sorry.
She is the... Nice. She is still the only woman to receive this award, along with one of only 8 civilians to receive it too. However, her name, along with over 900 other recipients' names, were removed from the Medal of Honor roll.
What?
Rude.
In, I think, the 1920s?
Because she was a woman?
I don't know, because it was 900 others as well. It was, however, restored in 1977. So, well done, America. You did something right.
So she got a cross for... or the Medal of Honor for...
Helping...
For the thing that got her made
Captured.
prisoner.
Yeah.
She got it for that. And then she got punished again by having it removed. And then...
Essentially. She just couldn't win. She volunteered. They said no. She then went and worked for no pay and got captured helping soldiers or civilians, both. Then got sent back to the Union Army, opened her own medical practice afterwards, was approved for went back to her medical practice, was approved for the Medal of Honor, died, had it taken away from her name, and then had it reinstated.
I guess in her sort of point of view, though, she's done what she thought was right, and maybe she wasn't looking for validation or a reward.
Well, she volunteered. She was willing to go and help for no pay. Well, yeah, that was
very heroic.
That was Mary Edwards Walker, someone who people should know about, and I hope more people do. This is someone who should come up in the suffrage movement more. Even though it was in America, she still played a crucial role in this.
Equal rights for women in America.
In her medical practice.
Are Americans taught this in school, do you think?
I doubt it.
I mean, they're taught about their wars, obviously, the civil wars and things, so maybe...
Maybe, if you're American and you're listening to this, we'd like to know whether you're taught about Mary Walker, because I didn't know who she was.
No idea either.
Did you? Like, you can't just shake your head, it's a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Nice one.
I failed history, so I'm only here because I know all the techie stuff to
Shocked and
record this.
stunned.
She's here to learn as well.
Yeah, you're here to learn.
There goes It's not like, sorry.
I'd very much like to know whether Americans, whether you're taught about her, because
What they're taught about their own history.
taught about one of their a great hero.
Yeah.
This was someone who like was revolutionizing how women were seen. Yeah. She was also known for wearing men's clothes in her medical practice. Many people thought she was a man. Yeah.
Wasn't it down in them times where cross-dressing was quite looked down upon?
Yeah, which didn't help her.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was until recently that
But it
wasn't.
was more. She was probably doing it more because
Comfortability.
yeah.
It was ease of movement, performing surgeries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was better for her job, basically.
Yeah.
So those are 4 pre-20th century unsung heroes. I think they're definitely more people should know about. And if you have any pre-20th century unsung heroes or people you think people need to know about, get in touch. Like, leave a comment or send us an email. Because this isn't going to be the only episode of Unsung Heroes.
We will talk about these people that you mentioned.
Yeah,
We all want to learn.
we do. If they're people we don't know about, even if they are people that we know about, some other people might not know.
Yeah.
So
Share the info.
we are going to share the info. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that episode because that's interesting. The
It
first
is, yeah.
podcast I've ever done.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was very, very good.
So I think that's it from me. I'm Jake,
Rachel.
I'm Danny.
and that's the end of episode 1, Unsung Heroes.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.